Welcome back to the United Lens. Tonight, the review comes down to one question. Was it the wrong call? Because for me, this game is not just about the result. It's about the decisions that shaped that result, whether this was the team selection or the tactical setup or the changes in the game. Okay. Something didn't feel right. And I think we talked about that on the preview show on Friday. And that's what we're breaking down tonight. So get in the chat, get in the comments. If you're watching this back, and tell me what you think the wrong call was. Okay? Because if you want, I can give you the sort of obvious breakdown of it. Okay? But for me, it was a simple thing. We said about rotation. We said about play the kids or play the fringe players and things like that. Okay. But he went for the fringe, and that's what we're going to get into. And if you want Manchester United reviews built around real football conversations, what we talk about, not just the person running the show's opinion, subscribe to United Lens because your say matters. Okay. The reason I'm framing it like this is because sometimes after a game, people go straight to the scoreline and they literally just stop at the scoreline, right? It's 0-0, ball draw. They were all over us, 50-50 game, whatever their take is on how they see it, sometimes through red tinted glasses. Obviously, we are fans and that's the be all and end all, right? But football doesn't really work like that. Because you can win and still get something wrong, and you can draw and actually get a lot right. Okay. So you can lose because of one decision and tilted the whole thing against you because the game hadn't even like settled. Do you know what I mean? End-to-end stuff. Some one deflected shot and you could lose, right? So they're the three outcomes you can have in a game. And obviously the middle one, you can draw and actually get a lot right, is exactly how I saw the game yesterday. Now, I don't know how you did, so get yourself straight in the chat and tell me what you physically saw in the game. Not, oh, Carrick done this, or some of the players, they're not good enough. What did you see that if you were running Manchester United, that would have jumped out at you? Because when I look at this match, I'm not just asking whether United were good or bad. And let's be fair, it was closer to the second one. I'm asking whether United made life harder for themselves than they needed to. And for me, that's where the phrase wrong call comes in. Okay. Was it the selection? Was it who started? Was it who didn't start? Was it the shape? Or was it the way the team was asked to use the ball in game management, once the game started to shift? Okay. Because those are the difficult conversations a lot of channels will, move away from very quickly. And what I don't want to do tonight is just throw out one opinion for the sake of it and go, right, that's the answer. Because that's just clickbait bullshit that you'll see. And there's plenty of other places you can see that. I want to break it down properly. What did the call look like on paper? And what did it actually look like in the United game? And then the biggest question of all, what should have been done instead? And that's where your views come into it. That for me is always the key. It's easy to say something was wrong after it happened, right? Is it harder to say what the better solution actually was and whether it would have been a gamble or not? Okay. So that's where I want your help as well tonight. Get in the chat and tell me now, what do you think the wrong call was? Was it before kickoff or was it during the game? Was it tactical? Was it personnel or was it in-game management? Because there's a lot of that across the entire 90 minutes, okay? Because for me, there's one part for this that stands above the rest. There is one decision that I keep coming back to because I think it changed the feel of the match. It changed what United were able to do. So let's start there. Let's go right into that call itself. What it was, why I think it mattered, and why I don't think United ever fully looked comfortable because of it. Okay. And I bet no one can probably guess what that call is because it's not going to be what most would think, but I did mention it on the preview. And that was dun 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 Aiden Heaven. Okay. There's certain things in life that we sort of get raised. Do your best, stand up, it'll be noticed. Cream always rises to the top. All of those sort of sayings, right? But the fact of the matter is, 9 times out of 10 was a load of bollocks. Okay. People have favourites, pressure from the top, you name it, it will happen. Okay. Yesterday, I felt we saw that for the first time. You had Martinez, who has, as I said on Friday, let the manager down multiple times, let a lot of managers down multiple times, actually. Too hot-headed, comes in, gets sent off, rightly or wrongly. I really don't care. I thought he pulled hair like a girl, so therefore I'm going to stick with the red card and 3-game ban. I don't have a bad thing to say about that decision. But what I do say is Aiden Heaven has grown and grown and grown, and basically now he's just been chucked straight back onto the bench. Now, I was all for a Fredrickson maybe getting a shout or a Euro getting a shout, not necessarily a Martinez. And I don't know where other people feel about that, but I felt it gave the wrong sort of signals. Okay. I got why Mason Mount started. I got, why Xerxes was started. I made a big thing about him in the preview, saying, like, if Sesko's not going to play, you got to play Xerxes, try and get as much money for him. But he's crap, he won't score, and you'll probably want him off by half time. Well, he lasted 65 minutes. So I wasn't far wrong on that. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about what I'd already seen and the obvious decisions that come along with that. And okay, Xerxes gone. That's fine. In my mind, he's gone because I think he got his chance and didn't do much. Now, was Sunderland the right kind of game for him to produce? No, probably not. Sunderland, very physical, very quick, counter-attacking. One of their chances where obviously Lohmann's pulled off that great save down to his right. Little 1-2 sprints through our defence because we were so high up. And you knew they were going to run off you. And if it wasn't for Lemons, let's be fair, we could have been absolutely turned over. 2 absolute curlers gone wide, 2 great saves, came and took some crosses, punches, everything you need. But sometimes we need a lot more than that in our football, okay? And I felt that came from the defence. I think that where I've been saying how Maguire has been controlling Heaven and they've stayed quite level at all times. Martinez does his own thing. He steps out. Maguire can't control Martinez. Martinez won't listen. He'll see a person to press. He'll step into that midfield when he sees the opportunity to play the pass. And then that sometimes creates that angle to play a little 1-2 round him and run into the space and he won't catch you back up. Did we see that? Go back, watch the highlights. I'm sure you will see that. So that's the wrong call, number one. I thought that playing a younger or a player with Maguire would have made more sense. Hence the reason we've extended his contract. Now, there are a few other aspects. Obviously, I've already touched on it. Mason Mount coming in. Now, I don't have a problem with Mason Mount. I think he's absolutely a brilliant footballer when he's fit. I do have a problem with Mason Mount playing in a midfield too with no defensive midfielder when him and Kobe Mainu were probably closer to 8/10s than they are a 6. And well, I think that just showed our midfield was absolute shit. And I think some of the ratings that Mount got, because as we got control of the ball later on in the game, he picked up it with his distribution and his passing. But I thought, okay, brave, cool. Obviously looking to get hold of the ball, pass it around, move it quickly. Yes, Mason Mount, tick, tick, move the ball. Vision, tick. But no Ugarte. Now, I feel we could have rotated both midfielders in if we're going to do it, not sort of semi-sacrifice Kobe Mainu to have to play alongside Mount. We could have put Ugarte in as soon as we found out Casemiro wasn't going to be able to play. So that was more of an enforced change. Does this mean the manager doesn't? Well, another manager doesn't count on Ugarte. Would rather play Mount. Would rather play Bruno. Anyone else there than Ugarte? Possibly hard to say. Obviously, when it comes to substitutes, well, that's going to be a very hard one to talk about. When it comes to subs, obviously, we only made the 2, and Ugarte wasn't even on the bench. I haven't heard any reason why yet, so I find that weird. Okay. So what do you guys feel about that? Like I say, get in the comments afterwards. Tell me what you thought about Mount playing. Now, it's got nothing to do with Ugarte. Leave Ugarte out of it. What did you think about Mount coming in and playing in that position? I feel it was a wrong call. I would have rather have dropped Bruno back and played Mount in the 10, personally. And I'll leave it at that because I don't want to put too much on it. Now, what was it? Within 10 minutes, they'd had a curler. Sunderland put a curler wide of the post from just outside the box, and they had the 1-2 that Lemon saved. On the 10-minute marks, we squared a free kick for Ahmad to hit an absolute rasping curling shot wide of the post, definitely off the training ground. And that was great. Thinking, oh, this is going to be good. Ahmad's on it. Yeah, we were wrong. Another shocking performance from Ahmad, personally. Doesn't do anything wrong. Doesn't really do anything right. Goes through the motions. Sort of just get to the end of the season, see what happens. Sort of getting the ball, driving down the right, turning back, looking to pass it to Bruno. No, not putting it across, not driving into the box, not with a little, double step over, go left, go right, whichever way you want to go. Commit a defender, get the corners after corner after corner. Keep the ball, keep possession, and get something out of it. See, sometimes it's better to keep possession in a wide area and get a throw in or a corner than turn around and recycle the ball. Because when you're in the final third, you get something out of it. When you're around the halfway line, no, recycle it. Go back around the defence and out the other side. Absolutely, as a winger. And it just feels like Ahmad gets a little bit confused in those sort of decisions. Now, he barely moved off the right-hand side, as we would expect. Didn't really cut in for any shots. Barely made it past the corner of the box, if you look at his heat map. But, and this is a big but, played 75 minutes. 0 goals, 0 assists, obviously. Expected goal, 0.006, because that free kick was a training ground. You don't expect it to happen. Crowded, lots of people in front of him. So I don't really care about stats. You guys know that. That was the only shot he had. It was the only shot off target. But what I do care about is specific stats. Okay. Successful dribbles, 1 in 3. So he didn't even beat his player consistently. He beat player once. Accurate crosses, 1 in 3. Okay. Defensive contributions, 2. Blocks, 1. Recoveries, 1. And recoveries can just be a loose ball that you've got back to. He got dribbled past more times than he dribbled past someone. Ground duels won 3 out of 8. Aerial duels won 50-50. Depends who you're up against, right? He was fouled twice and he committed a foul once. These are not great stats for a defender. For any footballer, sorry, not a defender. Because I keep thinking he was a right wing back because I can't get that out of my head until next season starts. But accurate passes, 19 out of 21. Because all he would do would play a 5-yard pass. 10-yard pass maximum. Now, how are we going to create chances if he doesn't take on players? Now, when I saw Ahmad go on loan to Rangers, he was pulled up in Scotland for always taking people on, trying to be a little bit too fancy, trying to do too much. And you're thinking, oh, we've heard this somewhere before. So he goes on loan to Sunderland, and the guy just grows and has great performance. I think, was he player of the season or contender for player of the season? Absolutely great. Came back to United. Ten Hag, well, let's be fair, messed him around big time, didn't he? Was always playing Anthony over him, but then when he did come in, didn't he get something like 8 goals in so many games or something like that? He was cutting in, scoring goals, scoring winners, absolutely flying. But it seems like now he knows it's him or Mbumo, that confidence has taken a real hit, okay, and it's just dropped right down. So I don't know what to do about it. It's a bit like a new problem that's been created at Man United. If we're going to play just for instance, 4-4-2 or a 4-2-3-1 or anything which requires just one player out on the right and a right back, it's going to be between Mbumo and Ahmad. And I feel next year, Ahmad knows that Shea Lacey is going to be knocking on that door to also play. And it feels like he's just dropping off. Maybe he wants a move. So it's something that I think the manager's going to have to look at. And I really want everyone's take on that. Because as you can see here, this is like a second string lineup. Okay. So we've got Xerxes, we've got Ahmad, Mount, Mazrari, and I'm going to say Martinez in there. So it's literally 50% changed. But whenever I look, we can go, right, straight off. Let's have a look. Xerxes, that should be Sesko. Ahmad, keep my finger in focus. That would be Mbumo. We could go all the way over here to Cunha. Cunha would be obviously him or Dorgu, and most of us feel a new left winger. This midfield, well, we won't even talk about the midfield. So it's a hard one there, personally. And yeah, just another poor game from Ahmad, but not as poor as Xerxes. Anyone want to tell me what Xerxes offered? Anyone see anything Xerxes did in the game? Because, okay, I watched it on my phone at a birthday party. I've watched the highlights back, and he's not in any of them. I haven't watched the extended version yet, and I will do that tonight. And just see if anything pops out, but it won't. We gave him a chance. I talked about Aiden Heaven being given a chance, taking it with both hands. We talked about Kobe Mainu being given a chance, taking it with both hands. I feel Mazrari does the same when he plays. He never lets us down. Xerxes, the guy just generally does not care about anyone but himself and how good he looks on the pitch. 9.5, whatever he wants to refer to himself as, he is not a Manchester United player. This is not player like me having a go at a player. This is just, you don't understand what's required of you in the Premier League. You're the only person I've ever seen succeed at looking like a lazy footballer in the Premier League is Dimitar Berbatov. And that's because the guy pops up in the box and puts the ball in the back of the net. Xerxes, it looks like he's scared of the ball 9 times out of 10 when it gets thrown in the box. He had one header in the first half. Well, I think it was the first half or the second half, where he's mistimed his jump, leaning. He's headed it on the way down, so he's leaning back, trying to cushion it. And even if he got it on target, the keeper would have just stepped across and caught it. No power at all. No, doesn't offer us anything. And I'm thinking, in my preview, I said we keep Mbeumo on the right. We put Xerxes up front. We fire the balls across the box. Xerxes doesn't need to move. Cunha puts the ball in. Mbeumo puts the ball in. And we just try and find him fancy flicks or whatever. He'll get a little touch on it. No, he changes it. No crosses at all. And until Mazraoui got up there and whipped one in. Or set pieces. No threat at all. We know we have to play to his feet. No, we're still clipping it. So, is that on Xerxes? No, probably not. Is that on the manager? Sort of no, probably not as well. It's definitely on the club. We got rid of Rasmus. Fair play. That was a decision. It seems to have worked out for Rasmus better than it's worked out for anyone else, okay? But Obi couldn't have played. He played the night before. But now, I think Sesko should be back for the next 2 games. It was only a slight shin injury. Bruised shin, probably a little bit too soft for my liking. Should have been able to play through that unless he's got shin splints, but no one's mentioned that. Or we just bring in Obi. Now, obviously, Obi's got the FA Youth Cup final to play at the shitty ground. And then he'll probably play the 23s, which is currently the next day. Until the FA sort that out for the 21s in the playoff final for the PL2 Cup to be champions of that. Not the Cup, PL2 League, because it's done in a weird way. So I feel that Xerxes should be dropped off the bench after that performance, and we just put a youngster up there that's not playing. Or we play Bruno false 9, because now with the draw, the only big upside about the 0-0 draw, and I know this feels a bit negative. It's not. I do have a stinking cold. That's why my voice is probably quite monotone and not sounding the same with the enthusiasm. Now with that point, that's 3rd place done. Done, dusted. We cannot be any lower than 3rd. And that's the dream complete, right? So, let's get some youngsters in there. And I will leave it at that. Now, I do want to come all the way back to the other end of the pitch. Sammy Lemans. Now, you'll notice I didn't do a player review because A, like I say, I was at a birthday party and out for a meal in the evening. And B, I thought that doing it the day after looks, I could be copy other people's reviews, and I like to keep it as real as possible. So if I'm not doing it straight after the game, it's not a real reactionary review. It's got too much calmness and secondary thought gone in it. But I don't need any secondary thought to go. Le Mans was like a 9 out of 10. Bloody hell, he was saving everything. The save down to his right from, I can't think who it was, the Sunderland player who sprinted through on goal. That's a superb save, because at that point, it almost looks like he shaped to put it in the other corner and the keeper guesses the right way, but it's such a strong hand and instant reaction dive. Absolutely superb. And then there was a curler for he palms well wide, like out towards the corner flag. First off, he doesn't palm it out behind the goal, so he got plenty of power in his wrists, but he also isn't at full stretch. So he sort of catches it here rather than out here. And that's actually quite hard because he's stopping himself from diving past it, and then he pushes the ball away, knowing he can't hold it because his momentum's wrong. Superb save. He come and took the crosses to sting out the game when needed. Okay, he might have got away with 3, the 2 curlers and the 1 that rebounds off the post. So we were very lucky in that respect. But yeah, talking about everything and anything, I know Bruno this week has been given PFA Player of the Season, or Football Writers, whatever it's referred to as. But for Man United Player of the Season, I think Fernandes will obviously get it. But I think Lemens has to be a runner-up, right? Because everything he's brought to the club has been absolutely superb. So Sorry, quick sniff. Um, and yeah, what more can I ask of him? You know, the claiming of the crosses is, whether he catches it or punches it in this day and age. I can't explain to you from a coach's point of view and the player's point of view how much everyone just takes a big, deep, like, breath of relief when the ball comes in the box. Just like it goes up, he claims, keepers, bang, down, and you're just like, right, he's got the ball in his hands. It's one of the reasons they want to speed up the game, right? They give him the whole 8 seconds count now because it means we can't calm that game down as much, so therefore they make mistakes. But no, for me, he's been absolutely superb, guys. And can I wish he'd done any more? Not really. Not really. When I'm looking at the stats, like I say, I would have given him a 9 out of 10. I've got Foot Mob up here. He's got 8.8, which is a country mile over anyone else. I'm just having a look. The highest on ours was Mazrari at 8.2, which, like I said, again, the guy comes in, never lets us down. What he gives us and what Diego Dallo gives us, some games can be night and day. Some days it can be better in attack and one's better in defence. This game, Mazrari just did it all. And then everyone else is about 7-1, 7-1, 7-2, 7-4, 7-4, 6-8, 6-9. Xerxes 5.9 and Ahmad 6.3. And that's Footmob's take on it. Next season, we will be using the fan analysis app. We can all get involved in that, having a look, having our say, and a few other things. Like you can see, I'm playing around with the backgrounds at the moment, so you can see. So we've got a lot live lineups here, stats from the game. So you can see 11 shots, 49% possession with an expected XG of 0.62. And then we have the league table here, which is now set in stone with that top three. I don't think Arsenal can lose it now. And we've got the stats down here. When we do player ratings, you'll see something different. When we do a preview show, you'll see more stats. Obviously, no starting 11. And let me know if there's anything else you want on those backgrounds to help you with the stats. The little heat map is average out over the game for us. You can see whether we really didn't attack down the left-hand side. So that's what that is. I'm going to shrink myself, obviously, next season for this. And yeah, there's a few other things coming. Keep your eyes out for the trailer that we'll review all. So yeah, apart from that, let's have a quick run through. There's a lot of you watching over on X, so if you can jump in, whack a subscribe, give it a thumbs up. Would have been nice to get people in the comments tonight, but I get it. Other shows are on, other things are on. The three of you watching, greatly appreciated. Let's just have a quick look. Trying my best to stay hydrated with this. Literally, my skin is like red raw when I woke up this morning. Let's have a look. Okay, that's fine. So, what are we going to do on... What day is it today? It is Sunday. So, tomorrow night, I'll be on Tactical Devils doing Jarvis's Corner. So, it'd be great to see you over there. Oh, we got people in. Carsham, evening. Boxing, evening, sir. So, guys, we've literally just done the breakdown of the games. How Lamers was basically the man of the match, and that did Carrick get it wrong, or was he sort of pushed into this, or has he actually had a bit of a masterstroke and shown that Xerxes Ahmad, Mount, even Martinez aren't really fit for purpose for next season if you want to just only buy one or two players, and that the club actually needs to go out and spend some serious money. So that will come on to I'll have to come to you guys for that, because in my opinion, Carrick done the right thing in playing the fringe players. The Mount one was forced upon him because Casemiro dropped out last minute. But it was a massive surprise that it wasn't Ugarte and it was Mount. Ahmad, I've just said, isn't cutting it, and I feel like he's lost all confidence. Xerxes just needs to get out of the club. But we couldn't really play the youngsters because they played the night before. Well, the morning before. So yeah, we even though the subs, we had what, Fletcher, both Fletchers on the bench. Lelioro, I feel, should have started if he was taking Heaven out. Diego Dallo, I don't mind not starting. And Malacia is still on the bench, and we don't want him on the pitch. And thank God he didn't rotate Bayern Deer like I sort of suggested he could have, because Le Mans basically kept us at keeping a point. I think Carrick was showing the board the squad is not good enough. That is my take as well, boxing. There have to be some links with Morgan Rogers. He's too similar to Cunha and not worth anywhere close to 80 millions. Morgan Rogers, for me, does not work at Manchester United with a Bruno Fernandes. It's as simple as that, because you can have Cunha. Cunha should be playing more in the sort of 8-10 role. You can have Rogers, that sort of where he wants to play. Neither are a left-hand sided player. They might drift out there to cut in. And obviously, then you got Mbumo, Ahmad, Dorgu as well. So for me, no, it doesn't work. Martinez is a red card waiting to happen. 100% agree. He is our version of Romero at Tottenham. We've got to stop doing this Dorgu left winger gimmick. He's not a winger. He should just be left back. Not good enough. The thing is, he's not a left back. So when we signed Dorgu, he was playing right as a right forward for Lecce. So the fact we keep playing him on the left is probably more the question. When we bought him, he was playing on the right, just as an inverted front right winger with defensive responsibilities. So was he wrongly profiled? Maybe. If you think about where he scored his goal from, or two goals from, very central, like he's cut in and hit the ball. He comes onto it with his left and bends it. He hit the volley where he came slightly from right hand side to hit it. He's not a crosser, although he does play there for Denmark. He's not a first time crosser of the ball. He has to take a touch. So Dorgu just needs to know what his position is and work at that one position where he's been messed around so much. I think Dorgu needs time to get fit. He's had a long injury layoff. He has, and it was a hamstring. Denmark aren't at the Denmark at the World Cup? I'm not sure. They didn't make it, did they? They went out in the playoffs. So he will get more of a layoff from that. So that's a good thing, in my opinion, boxing. So we can only hope. Like I say, he gets back into preseason training. They say, this is the position you're fighting for, and he works on that. But I do take what Karcher's saying. It's been put into our brain that he's a left wing back and the back being done more. So maybe all of us are wrong, because generally we don't know. Maybe he doesn't know. But I don't see him as a great tackler. So that's why I wouldn't say he was defensive. And he's sort of like a failed winger. And sort of somewhere in between. Maybe that's closer to the truth. It's a very hard one to describe his traits. Hey, would you be happy if we signed Edison? I hope we signed Mateus Fernandes with West Ham. Relegation looking likely. I would be over the moon if we signed Edison, Jay, because I actually Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think it was about 3 seasons ago. 35 million buyout clause from Atalanta. When we were first linked with him, we didn't go for him. I was actually on Big Up, which is a streaming platform with Adam from FUTV, and we were going through all the pros and cons of him. And I was like, no, this guy really could be the next Casemiro. If you brought him in over that time with Casemiro, learning day in, day out with him, instead of him just learning when they're away with Brazil together, he would be the perfect replacement. What's happened is Atalanta like to sell one, maybe two players maximum per summer for the most amount of money they can get. They've done Rasmus, they've done Ahmad with us. They got rid of Lookman to Atletico, had to think then. So he's not been able to get his move. And for that reason, they're now asking for 45 million euros, which is 10 over what his buyout clause was. But he's fallen off a cliff because it's almost like he's been stopped from being released. But even at that price, I feel he'd be worth it. But if we were to get him, I'd be like, Casemiro, can you stay for one more year? I feel there's something we can do with that. I really do. Maybe it's just hope. Maybe it's just too many times at Old Trafford, with the just one more season. But I think it would just work. But Mateus Fernandez, I feel we could also get. So Edison, Mateus Fernandez, why not? Why not go for both? Like you said yourself there, Jaden. If he's going to get relegated, then we've got a chance, right? But I think he's attracting a lot of sort of interest because his last sort of 4 or 5 performances, he's just going up levels. Guys, if you've only just joined, make sure you've given the video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you haven't. We are on the road to 150 by the end of this month. And obviously, we're looking to hit the 500 when we launch the rebranded channel in the start of the new season. Well, start pre-season really, but pre-season, new season is going to be like 2-3 weeks apart. So make sure you're doing that so you get all the new updated stuff. Right. Dorgu is too predictable while playing as a winger. Just got 2 moves. Try to outpace the defender, which he doesn't have that much of, and cut back to cross and just gets a back pass. He does cut back to cross, but he is actually left-footed. So that's one of the things I don't understand why he does it. Saw Mateus Fernandez today against Arsenal, could be a top signing. Absolutely. And we won't even get onto that Arsenal game because that was an absolute match fixing experience if I've ever seen one in my life. We have an option to sign him for next season, don't we, Casimir? We do. We do. So obviously all the contracts have a +1 that we can trigger. It seems that by mutual consent, we won't trigger the +1. I know there's been no sort of information leaks or any reason why that +1 wasn't triggered. Now, I can understand maybe at the start of the season, people going, look at last season, look at the season before, the legs are going, whatever. But whether Casemiro wakes up every morning and puts that Jamie Carragher clip on saying, leave football before football leaves you, and it inspires him, I don't know what he's done, right? But he's like a changed man this season. He's gone back to not prime Casemiro Real Madrid, but very much close to with what he's doing. He just can't do it for more than 60 minutes. And then after 60, there can be a massive drop off, but he gets like a second wind. And in the last few tackles flying in everywhere. But he brings the fight. And you will never hear me say a bad word about Casemiro because I think he is absolutely superb. But if you could trigger that, I think it'd be perfect. If you could get in Mateus Fernandes, if you could bring in Edison, and then you could just go big on one other midfielder. For me, if you brought in Edison and you brought in Mateus Fernandes, it's got to be a Human or someone like that outside of the Premier League. I think it has to be a defensive midfielder that you could play alongside Edison or rotate through just in case one doesn't work. but also no more than sort of 50 million. And then you've spent decent money. Do you also see the drop of intensity since Carrick took over? Um, I don't. Oh, that's a really good question. I wouldn't say it's a drop of intensity. I would say it's more sort of selective when to run and when not to run. That's a really, yeah, I do see why you would think that. So, what I feel is the high press is gone, and we're pressing sort of from a mid block sort of situation. And that's pretty much. I'm trying to think how to say this without sounding detrimental to Bruno. Bruno runs past the striker way too much, trying to trigger the press. Now, when you press, you need to see everything in front of you to trigger. Now, we talk about having triggers, so a bad touch or a certain player, and you know to press that. But if that player's got the ball with 20 yards of space around him, you're not pressing him, right? Or at least you shouldn't be, because it's too easy for him to play out before you get there. But what seemed to have happened under Carrick is we want the counter attack. So what he's sort of gone in to sort of just before mid block, you would say start, and we press there, which reduces the amount of space they have to pass in behind, and then you can sort of concertina shut off the passing lanes. So if you look behind me here, if I was to shift the midfield and the front three over to the left or the right, you would see that the two midfielders would sit in between the centre backs, and basically you just zigzag cut everything off. When you do that and you condense it, it makes it very hard to play through. You sort of have to then play diagonally across. And I feel Carrick sort of wants to do that. Make them put the ball in the air. We win the ball in the air. We pick up the second ball and we quickly counter in behind. And that's our trigger to counter rather than having a counter to press. That's how I see it. But the intensity, I feel, is still there because when we go, it is high intensity for the whole game. The whole team comes with it. They go at full pace. But I feel it's the press that's dropped off. But actually, I'm going to keep an eye out on that because it's funny if someone thinks the intensity's dropped and maybe it's something I'm not seeing. So I'll have a look. Right here. Definitely, I agree with Edison. I like us to sign him as well. I'm not too sure about the Carlos Baleba links. He had a bad season with Brighton, and I think the price of 70 to 80 million is too much. 100% agree with that statement. I think Baleba and Edison are very, very similar players. Both have had bad seasons, but one is half the price. Baleba is a toss of a coin because he's had one great season, one bad season. He has Premier League experience. So that's all positives, right? But you flip that, you can say that Edison has had a bad season, has no Premier League experience, but has played in the Champions League. He has played in the multiple times in Europa League, Conference League. So he's played against many a different opposition. He's an international for Brazil, rather than, well, touch wood. I'm hoping he goes to the World Cup. If he doesn't and we buy him, even bloody better because we can fit him into the squad quicker. So, yeah, totally agree with that. Jamie Hughes, who, if you could buy 3 players next season, realistically, who would you get? What's realistic? So I'm going to first off say Edison because I think we're close to having a done deal on that, and it's someone I've wanted for years. I think we should be putting a bid in for Lewis Hall for left back, which is why I've stayed away from Lincoln Tonali to Manchester United. So Lewis Hall, Edison, and I would realistically go for Hillman from Sporting. Although he has the Arsenal tattoo and everyone focuses on that, and he won't be the first player who has some major links with another club. I'm sure if we signed JF Bowen that he doesn't have a tattoo. No, his bloody girlfriend's Danny Dyer, and Danny Dyer's a dad who are all massive West Ham fans. What's the bloody difference? There isn't. Just come and do your job for the club. Um, so yeah, Martin Hillman, Edison. That gives me two decent holding midfielders with Kobe Mainu, and I think Freights and can come through for the youth team, and with the Fletchers, and we've got more than enough midfielders. Don't forget we still have Toby Collier, and hopefully we can get him sorted because he's a very good player when he is actually fit. And we play him in midfield. When the last time he played for the club, he played at bloody left back, and he's still done a great job. So yeah, that's who I'll go for, Jamie. Jamie, who would you get? Let me know who you'd get. We can't expect Edison to replace Casemiro. No, we cannot. Boxing, 100% agree with that. I'm not convinced if that's the case. That's why I say we need to buy two, because there's such a high chance for the Premier League we get the wrong one. I would still want some kind of athletic, 6'4", built like a brick shithouse, Paul Pogba kind of build, lanky, drives through the midfield at pace, kind of box-to-box midfielder as well. So Sangari from Lens is a very good option from that. But again, I'm scared he might not fit into the Premier League as much as people think. So boxing, yeah, I'm with you, 100% with you on that. Kartishma, I've noticed that we have started slowly in most of the games and increased our tempo once we go down a goal or start conceding chances. We did, especially against the games around the West Ham, sort of Leeds, things like that. And I called it out. I said, look, we've got to get on top of these guys and start, like, I don't know, whether it's to change the warm-up or slap them around the head or slap them around the face or something before they come out, get them fired up, because they were coming out looking sort of laid back and we were starting slow. Liverpool game, that wasn't the case. Brentford game, we came out strong, started strong, got our 2 goals, and I thought, yeah, we're going. So the intensity was there, but then it goes away. So it certainly can't be tired us, right? We're playing 30, 40 games this season, maximum. You think 38 in the league. We went out to Grimsby, we went out to Brighton, so 40 games. You can't say you're tired. Some have played international. Aman and Bumo, AFCON. But they then missed some Premier League games, so it's not like they played many more games, maybe 1 or 2 in the boom, because they went to semis, didn't they, both of each? So yeah, I agree with that. Right, let me just grab a quick drink, guys, with this cold. Seriously, woke up this morning, I was just like death warmed up. Definitely should have taken a coat or a jumper or something with me yesterday. Right, let's have a look at boxing. So you disagree. We flew out the blocks against Liverpool, City and Arsenal. Sunderland was slow, and Leeds and Newcastle. I mean, that's it. Now, what I'm going to say to both of you is, from a coaching point of view, if you're looking to counter-attack, you might not want to be that high intensity against a team that sits back. So a Sunderland, a West Ham, a Leeds, you want them to come on to you to counter, because their game plan might have been United are going to attack us, so we'll sit back in a low block. Whereas, as you just stated, boxing, Liverpool, City, Arsenal, high press, they're going to come at you. They're going to want to win the game. You can counter in behind the fullbacks, which we did really, really well, because all those teams use their fullbacks. Arsenal tuck theirs in, Liverpool overlap, and so do obviously City, especially with O'Reilly. So Sunderland, on the other hand, are just gun ho, and I'm really happy Sunderland have performed the way they have. So yes, Jamie, I agree with the midfield is a big priority, and also with Shaw getting on a bit and injury prone, we need a left back, and that's the way I see it. There's certain things where we know Shaw won't play 2 seasons in a row without being injured normally. Malacia is gone, Dorgu, I don't think is a left back. Atmas maybe comes back and comes into the first team. He's not done too bad on loan. He's had a couple of injuries though, so I would worry about that. And the midfield, like I say, 2 holding makes sense for me. So, but yeah, Jamie, let me know. Come on, who would be your 3? And I don't care what positions, what 3, because I can tell you, I want another striker, I want a left winger, I want a left back, I want 2 midfielders. I think we need another centre back, and I also think we need a backup goalkeeper because I think buying near should sell and get someone else in. Because I'm not sure if he is going to retire at the end of the season, but we may be down Heaton as well. So that'll be interesting. Jay. Oh, well, you're bang on cue there, Jay, mate, as I read this. I hope we keep VTech next season. Yeah, superb loan he's been on. So we don't need to buy a backup keeper. He had a good season with Bristol City. He had a great season, not just good. Was he getting a couple of teams of the team of the month and things like that as well? He didn't mind being a second choice, but we could play him in some cup games. Yes. So we could play him in probably 4 Champions League qualifying games. We could play him in Carabao Cup. We could play him in FA Cup, depending on draw. But we would probably have to guarantee him that. But I thought he's very good. I think he is very similar to Lamans. I think he's very similar to De Gea. So a good combination of that. So I would, but once you start playing and being first choice goalkeeper, it'd be very hard to come back to Manchester United and sit on the bench. So you would try and look for a championship team, maybe take you in there. If I was VTech and if I was Gary Neville and Salford get their promotion, which after today's results, obviously that could or could not happen. I think there's definitely a conversation there to get him out on loan, maybe in Div 1 if Salford was to go up. Obviously, they won 2-1. So who knows? But it is a big thing. It's a very big thing. But I'm not sure if he would sit on our bench. I would love him to, though, Jay. And that was sort of where I was going with the backup goalkeeper. Danny's in the house. Good evening, Danny. Can Luke Shaw play all 38 games this season for Litty Boba Dazzler? I can't see why not. 2 left. No left backs available. He seems to have made it back injury-wise for every game when we thought he might be out. And who's going to replace him? So if Luke Shaw can't play, we might have to go to 3 at the back. But I don't know. Maybe we could try Dorgu in the last 2 games. Like I say, we've got nothing to lose in those games. But we could also bring up Kokonki. But because of the under 18s and 21s have got their finals, I think that as much as I want the youth to be brought in and given that exposure and given the opportunities, they've got some good opportunities to win silverware, and winning breeds winning mentality, doesn't it? So, and that's what Man United's youth team's always been known for. That is a really good point. So I saw him play. Was he playing for the 21s? Yeah, he playing for the 21s the other day. Cut in, had a shot. Very attacking left back. Very attacking left back. He's like a Timu Roberto Carlos currently, but I can't fault his hard work. I can't fault what he does, but I feel he has to go out on loan. I agree. I feel maybe a Championship or Scotland, or he needs to go somewhere that at least speaking English. So the best loan for him would obviously be sent in Spain or Portugal or somewhere like that. But I think that would be detrimental to his progression. English isn't his first language, so he needs to be playing alongside people that shout at him in English to help him. That's probably has to happen next year. But when I watch him, I'm not sure if he's a left back or a left winger. I'm really not. And was he profiled as a potential left wing back when we bought him? It's a hard one. Boxing's in agreement, the forgotten man. Danny's saying Leon getting better on the ball compared to 6 months ago. Loaned to the Championship of Scotland. Good to see you in agreement. He won't understand a word in Scottish, Mark. Uh, that is a valid point, boxing. But it worked for Ahmad. Ahmad got through it. So, and his English weren't so great. Remember, he came Italian into wet Manchester. Didn't really train. Went on loan to Scotland. Went on loan to Sunderland. Neither of them have much difference in tones and language when shouting. So, it's possible. Is it probable? Maybe not. But it's where we're at with some of those young players. You buy them, you got to play them, and if you don't play them, don't expect anything from them. They don't get better by not getting out on the pitch, right? I think that's fair to say. We all know that. So if you could buy the biggest wonder kids, and if you don't play them, you are screwed. Simple as that. Okay. So I don't know what else I could say to that. What else we got here, guys? What else? So, yeah, talk to me about Xerxes. Chat. Talk to me about Xerxes. It's probably the thing I ranted about the most in the show. Joshua Xerxes, I feel, is gone. I feel that Sesko needs an experienced striker along, an Osman, an Ivan Toney for me. Perfect kind of replacements. Not replacements, replacement for Xerxes. The money's going to be high, and they're probably going to want first team football. So that makes it not practical and probably unachievable. But come back to me. Have a think about what you would do with the striker situation. While I have a look at these. Great goal for Rashford tonight for Barcelona against Real Madrid. They don't seem to want to pay what we agreed. Barcelona are like that. They are on a salary cap. They are on they're not transfer embargo, but they might as well have been. They need to still reduce their wage structure. There's still a massive court case regarding bribery of referees going on in Spain, which that will get dragged out as long as the 115s in this country. But look, if Barcelona don't want to pay the money, they don't pay the money. But the only thing that is good is Rashford's still performing, which means other clubs might come in for him. And he's sort of at the point where if we want to sell him for 30 million, I think we can get other clubs to pay 30 million for him. That's just the way I feel about Rashford. But there is part of me, and I'll say about 20% thinking that Carrick might take the gamble and keep him for the left-hand side attacker. I'm just saying, if we keep Carrick, he might keep Rashford. Book the flight to Italy ASAP. So Jamie says he'd get Lewis Hall, Fernandes from West Ham would be good depth, and with him being from Portugal, he will fit in and settle well, and possibly a proven centre midfield, e.g., Chouamini or Tonali. Well, let's touch on Chouamini. Chouamini, the fight, everything that's gone on there. It is what it is. It's happened. Nothing we can do about it. First things first, you throw a punch, you can hurt someone. Doesn't matter who you are. That kind of injury things. Let's not tar him with that kind of thing. He shouldn't have thrown a punch. Are they just going to cancel a contract so anyone can have him? Of course they're bloody not. Are they going to want him out the club? Well, it's going to be one or the other is going to want to leave. If you don't sell Turamini, then you're going to lose the other. Tonali, like I say, can't get Lewis Hall and Tonali. No way Newcastle sending both players to us. Not without paying ridiculous money. But I would take Tchouaméni. I'll take the gamble. But again, it's the wages, it's the transfer cost. But he fits the profile of what Ineos want. He's still young. He's got a high ceiling, but he's very injury prone. Maybe that's part of the bloody profile, actually. So yeah, I like that, Jamie. I like that a lot. Get an experienced striker that's okay as a backup. Yes, but who, Danny? Xerxes is gone. There is a player in him, but he's too laid back, Mark. Low energy. That's exactly what I said earlier. Boxing. It's not. He cares about himself and only himself and how he looks on the pitch. You know, he comes across like a poor man's Berbatov, but Berbatov managed whatever he did walking around the pitch. He turned up in the box at the right time and put the ball in the net. Whereas Xerxes, God knows what he's doing. Unreal first touch, great feet, but really didn't show us anything. Xerxes' style of play don't suit the English footy. He'll be perfect back in Italy. Agreed. Uh, or even in Holland. I think he'll probably go Holland. I don't think he'll go back to Italy. Just realised I'm muted. Um, can't really rate Tchouaméni's performance. A, it was against Barcelona, and B, with everything that's gone on at Real Madrid in the last like 7 to 10 days, he wasn't likely to have a good performance. Jay says he likes Xerxes, but I would move him on, and I think we need an out and out goal scorer who can get us goals when needed. Again, give me some names. I would take Ramos on loan from PSG. I don't mind that shout, but we've been linked with him over the years. But if you're not, I'm not sure how many goals he got in for PSG this season. But you know, it would be very hard to score in that PSG lineup the way they play. But again, he's very much a penalty box striker. Just stay in the box, do a job. So I don't know. But I like that as a shout. That is a good shout. But PSG will probably want big money for him. Remember, whenever we're talking about players, we've got to think about our budget. We've been led to believe we won't have much money. Whether that's true or false, spending as little as possible on a player is always a good deal. Mbappe is a bad apple. As soon as he left PSG, they won everything. Yep. Now he's gone to Real Madrid, still scoring almost a goal a game record, which he's had every club. But Mbappe, Tchouaméni, French players sticking together. Bad apples, bad attitudes. Just in my head, running that information, going could that could be one of the things. Can't prove it, but it would make sense, right? So, like I said, Ivan Toney for me or a Osman would be ideal, but they would want to start. I said at the end of last season, I would have taken Jamie Vardy on a free transfer. But I can't see anyone of note. I like the Ramos shout. I do like that coming in and sitting on the bench. Or who else? Who else is on the way out at a club that you would want to bring into Manchester United that guarantees goals for about, I don't know, 60 minutes maximum game time? Obviously, that's a great shout, but he just signed a new contract. Would you take Danny Welbeck? Yes, I would, but he signed a new contract about 4 months ago at Brighton. So that's a deal we could have got done, but not now. He was actually up on a free transfer at the end of the season, but he signed an extension. Jonathan David, great shout. I have rated him a lot, and people shut me down on him. The Canadian striker who is a 1 in 2 record for the last 4 or 5 seasons in France. Vlahovic is a gamble, but he's actually on a free transfer. um, which was, you know, started massively well at Fiorentina, went to Juventus, and yeah, hasn't quite worked out for him. But then there's plenty of players it doesn't work out for at Juventus. They train and live a weird way out there, with almost living on the training ground. So sometimes it realistically doesn't work. Would you be realistic because David seems to be playing more often for Juventus? Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I don't know. If there are free and we don't offer them ridiculous wages, I'm sort of happy to bolster the squad because it shows intent. Sometimes intent can help get other players across the line. Okay, so if you went and signed a couple of decent free transfers straight off the bat, shows intent. And then the players that you want to drive the price down on, you go, look, we're not paying silly money. We've brought in a couple of free transfers. We really want you. You can see we're building something. Your agent's being a dick. Come on, come over and let's have a better conversation, right? Um, let's have a look. What else we got here? Boxing. Boxing says Danny Welbeck. Can't get him. Everyone, go and get in your head. Danny Welbeck, new contract. He had a new contract. Otherwise, absolutely. Welbeck back to United. I think he would take it. Finish his career at the club he started. It's it's a bit of a fairy tale story, isn't it? But it works. What about the big target man Wolves have? Tallulah, isn't it? So if you went Premier League, there's probably a few out there in the lower sort of 5, 6 teams that you could have a shout with. See, this is what happens when I keep sneezing and drinking. I keep muting. This is a great one tonight. Anyone think I was ill? Tallulah, yes, I like Hong at Wolves. Tallulah can pin a play up, play it round the corner. So don't have a problem with that. But we don't really tuck in enough for that to work. So maybe not. Then you've got maybe some of the other ones down there. So who else is at near the bottom? Let's just have a quick look. Most of them played today, didn't they? So Burnley, yeah, no one to take off of Burnley. Obviously, there's Mateta at Palace. Mateta is an option. Now, whether he would be happy to swap in and out with Sesko, but I don't think he would. West Ham, obviously. There's something about that Castellanos I quite like, but he hasn't really. Obviously, there's a reason West Ham get relegated, right? So yeah, the lower strikers haven't really cut it in the Premier League, and that's the problem. But then is that the way people have played? Now we are in the Champions League. We can attract. Yes, this is what I was talking about last week. We can attract a lot more quality players, and with the right setup and style of football, I don't see why players wouldn't want to come. Jamie, what I'm going to say is The one reason players might not want to come is, how do you prove to them that in a bad season, which, let's be fair, this season has been bad, it isn't a one-off, and we drop off and we drop back down. So that's what we got to prove to them. You've got to preach the whole, look, guys, if you come, you're helping us improve the squad, and it ain't going to happen. If you don't come, it might happen. But with you there, you're going to get us in the Champions League, and we're going to stay in the Champions League. You know, those kind of conversations are what need to happen. And it's down to who's doing that pitching. Now, obviously, the elephant in the room is, who's the manager going to be? And that's one thing we can't have that conversation about for a minimum of another 2 weeks, right? But it is the be all and end all. But even I'm just trying to think. No one jumps out at me as a standout second string striker, apart from keeping Rasmus being a bloody logical choice. But you know, that's too late. That's gone. So I think when it comes to strikers, we are a little bit, I don't know, fucked. Let's be honest. We're not getting them in. Xerxes, we might have to try and keep if no one comes in for him. I would say Mateta. Mateta's the obvious one there, boxing. But I don't. I think we could get away with Xerxes 1 week, Mateta the next. Play the two together. There's options. I really like the Brentford striker, but I don't think you'd get him. I think they build a team around him. So again, or is that a little bit too obvious? Oh, there you go. Yeah, James just said Thiago is another one. If Brentford don't get European football, do you think he would? I think he's got like 4 years on his contract, 3 or 4 years on his contract. So it won't be the easiest one to do. I like him. Brentford really like him. So they won't want him to sell. So they're going to want big money for him. He's going to potentially got a chance of finishing second top goal scorer in the league. That's going to put his price through the roof. But you know, you got to try sometimes. Wouldn't be bad. But again, he would want to start over Sesko, and you can understand that if he's scoring goals. He was a handful for us. He's been a handful for nearly every team in the league, and that's what it comes down to. Is Sesko your first choice striker? End of, really. Malon, if you don't stay at Roma after his loan and goes back to Aston Villa. So Malon, I think, really just showed that obviously he went from Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund to Villa. Dortmund, he was great. But they were looking at, when Sancho was on loan there, it was him being dropped or pushed over to the other side. Then they sold him. He's fast, but finishing a little bit to be desired, unless he's on a one-on-one. But yeah, I don't think you get him. I think Villa played him and loaned him to do something with PSR more than anything else. Now, if he was happy to play on the left, which he is capable of doing, it wouldn't be a bad shout. Wouldn't be an out-and-out striker, but he could be a left winger in the front three. Him on the left and Boomer on the right, Sesko up front. I wouldn't mind that at all. Actually, only as you've brought his name up, it's definitely a possibility of making that work. So, yeah, no, keep these ideas coming. Don't have a problem with them at all. Now, one of the other ones would be, like we said, we were talking about the left wing. I feel Dorgu needs to be given a run of games there, fit, before you can make a choice on him. But that doesn't mean he's first choice. I would say that we could I don't know, push a Jai further forward in his career, in and out of the team from the 18/21s. Victor Musa could play there as well. Dorgu, Cunha. And like I said, I've got this really weird feeling for if we keep Carrick might bring back Rashford because he might think if we're not going to get the money for him, we might as well play him. And if we play him in the Premier League, more teams are coming through in January, and then we sell him on then. Where the fans would feel about that, I don't know. Guys, there's been so many of you watching tonight over on X. Please come over and smash the like button and subscribe. And obviously, all you new names in the chat, Jamie, Jay, everyone like that. Hopefully, you've hit the subscribe, and this is what this channel is all about. Your conversation with us. Tell you who I would get. The lad at Middlesbrough, Tommy Conway. He works his socks off. So, a championship striker coming up would not be a bad shout. Now, I am not going to pretend to know much about championship strikers. Obviously, I've heard Tommy's name. But what I would want is, well, do you know, actually, I'll chuck a random name out there that we tried to get last season, didn't get, and probably could still get him this upcoming season. There's a certain little striker at Chelsea because he certainly made the wrong move. And let's be fair, staying at Chelsea is going to probably hurt his career because he now knows he's second choice and he could probably fight his way into the United team. And you all know what I'm talking about. His name is anyone going to put it up before I say it? Nope. So, obviously not João Pedro. Before anyone says that. Liam Delap, kind of style player coming up from the Championship. It might be a good shout. I don't think we get anyone for Coventry or anyone like no real standout of players, but I want someone with a build, with pace and things like that. He's got really work rate, Conway. Yeah, but it's not all about work rate. So, as a striker, it's very hard. You can have so much work rate, and if the team's press is not set up or called in the right way, you just end up running around like a headless chicken. We've already got Bruno Fernandes who does that. Now, I hope next season our press is set up and called from midfield and not called from the strikers, because it seems like Bruno Fernandes leads the press, which means that your striker doesn't know whether to press yet until he's shouted at from behind. Bruno goes. But really, what Casemiro or Kobe Mainoo should be calling the press. So there's 4 players in front of him against 4 midfielders, and they tell them when to press, which basically, if they're not triggered, it means the gap between midfield and the strikers doesn't get too big. Now, I know this sounds like I'm going into one of my coaching rants, but when you watch Man United and Bruno gets in front of the striker, we now know there's a 25-yard gap between him and Casemiro, which if they play through the press, which happens more often than not because it's not calculated, that's how they cut through the midfield so much. We don't end up with a +1 anywhere on the pitch, and they outnumber us, and Bruno's now got to do double the distance to get back. So a hard-working striker works, but only if our midfield are doing their job. So, but Conway, I will have a look at him boxing. I'll have a look at him now. Well, not right now, but you know what I mean. Jay also, yeah, you got it, Liam Delap. These kind of players are the kind that they're second string, you bring them up. Now, if you were able to go out and buy two strikers and you only play one, straight away you're sending the message that you're competing. You're up against each other. Best one wins. No, I would not. Would you take Nicholas Jackson? He's back at Chelsea in the summer. Well, let's think. He's barely played at Bayern Munich. Okay, Harry Kane's knocked in what? I haven't seen if he scored this weekend or how many, but it wasn't about 56 goals this season. So he wasn't getting much of a chance. So it's not hard to say, but he hasn't even been playing in a shit league. But he hasn't been playing in a shit league. They've still been playing tar over him. Didn't play at Chelsea. Didn't say that. On paper, Nicholas Jackson should score goals, but I think he needs to. I don't know, be punched in the face by a teammate or something, brought back down to earth. Go back, be more humble, and just work hard and keep things simple and stroke the ball in the net. You know, we've seen him fighting for a penalty. We've seen things like that. It's not great, but who knows? He might have learned something, and he comes back and he's more of a problem for Chelsea. Yeah, have a look at Conway. He's only 23. Plays with his heart on his sleeve, fire in his belly, and we need more of that at United. Hands down, we need more of that. That's what I need from my midfielders that we bring in, and everyone else. You know, you look at it now. Who plays with their heart on the sleeve? Harry Maguire, Layman's, Cunha. I'd probably say Sesko, although we don't get to see much of it because we don't give him enough of the ball. But they're the ones. Casemiro's the standout one who will fight for everything. So yeah, we most of us, I think, in here, Jamie, like Mateta from Palace. He's proven in the league. He's clinical. He's fast. He's strong. But he failed a medical, or should I call it an extended medical for AC Milan in January. So he passed his standard medical. They asked for additional tests to be done. I'm guessing for the fractured skull, from where he had all the stitches down the side of his head, hence the reason he wears the head guard. And then they didn't sign him. So I don't know if he has potential for a brain injury or anything like that from it, swelling, fluid, sorry, uh, up there, or it's not healed properly or what, but they pulled out the deal. Now, but Italy are known for that. If you're not perfect, they don't go for you. It's not like they're a perfect league themselves, but they have weird or make weird decisions. But yeah, Mateta I really like. But I feel, although Mateta plays up front as a one for Palace, I feel Mateta would work well with an Mbumo in a two. I feel there's something about Mateta that says Ivan Toney and Mbumo when they work together. So, and I don't know if it's just the way Palace played. Palace obviously played the 5-3-2-1 or whatever it is. And Mateta backs in, holds up, and he flicks around the corners for the runners off of him from the double 10 position. Which Mbumo obviously was originally brought in to do, and Cunha. So he would work if we were playing the Amarin system. But yeah, no, I really like Mateta. I really do. Left wing is a really hard one. I know we've been linked with Liao. Malin, I hadn't even thought of. He hasn't really done it at Palace. I'm sorry, at Villa. Obviously went out on loan. So maybe the fact they wanted Sancho off of us, the fact they wanted Rashford off for us, and they signed Malin and he hasn't cut it, would be a bad shout. Lewandowski, we try for a second time to get him. He's out of contract. If you could bring him in, fine. I've got a funny feeling he's retiring. And he just hasn't announced it till the end of the season. I've got a funny feeling that's what's going to happen. I can't see him going back and finishing his career in Poland, but I can see him going back to Borussia Dortmund and finishing his career there. But definitely out of contract, we probably should go for him. But remember, the fact he was out of contract, we've had since January to put something together to go for him. Because any player who is free in the summer, you can buy in January as long as they are not in your league. So, but that is a great shout. That's good ball knowledge there, Jamie. I like that. But yeah, going back to the left wingers. I feel we're weak there, but I'm not sure if it's Luke Shaw's inability to commit to constant overlaps so he doesn't pull hamstrings, calves, or whatever, pick up injuries. So he's done less running this year. That's made us look weak down that side, or if it's where Dorgu got sort of picked up, started well, got that injury, and then Cunha tucks in instead of staying wide, where Dorgu hugs the touchline and doesn't come in. So that is a hard shout. But that pretty much covers everyone transfer wise. And then you got to start looking at the bench, right? We've got a lot of youngsters. I want 7 youngsters in the squad next season. Starting 11, 7 youngsters, and we fill the bench with second string players. That would be perfect. If we can get 7 youngsters in the squad, doesn't have to be an out and out 7, so it could be 5 with 2 that we put into the Champions League squad and just where we move players around. That would be perfect. I am not expecting, and you will hear this constantly on this channel, JJ Gabriel will not be playing for Manchester United's first team next season. He is not ready. I know Danny in here watches enough of the 18s and that, same as me. And it's a shame Bilal's not here, who also does, and Sean. But we are all of the same agreement that he's not ready yet. And you don't go for, and nor should you, go from the 18s to the first without playing for the 21s. And if he's not going to get put in the 21s, which again, he has to be of the same age of playing for the first team, then you're not going to be ready. Okay. So that is that. Right. We've been going for an hour and a half almost, guys. So I think that's pretty much time to wrap it up. I can't see any other questions quickly coming in. Really appreciate all the interaction in the second half of the show, guys. Jay, Jamie, Kasham, everyone like that. It's been amazing. Boxing, you're always here and you're always got your questions coming in. I totally appreciate them. Danny, thank you very much. And I will be back. Well, tomorrow night, Tactical Devils. You can see me on there. Tuesday night, I will be back with a show. Might be a slightly shorter show. We'll see what happens at the moment. Obviously, we've only got 2 games left. We'll do a preview show on Friday night for the penultimate game of the season against Forest, which I can only hope is a walkover, because I'm hoping they're going to rest their players. We will obviously know more by Friday, preview from the press conference. And obviously there's a big game on Friday night, Aston Villa, Liverpool. So I'm starting to like this 10 o'clock. We get more interaction, good chat, people from around the world. So we'll go live after the game, maybe about 10:15. So we just hit it for the hour from then. Okay. And then on Saturday, well, obviously there's a certain FA Cup final Saturday. So all Premier League games are being played on the Sunday. We play Forest early doors, 12:30. I will do the player ratings after the game on the Sunday, straight after, and then we'll do 10 o'clock. We'll do 10 o'clock. We'll stick to 10 o'clock. We'll do 10 o'clock Sunday night for a review show once I've calmed down. Hopefully from us absolutely smashing them, but who knows? And that's what we got to come. But guys, keep your eyes peeled. You already see that I've started using the new logo, which is coming for next year. The new backgrounds I'm playing around with. Give me your feedback if you're liking the league tables. So the players on the stats in the background. There's more to come on some of the other shows. And definitely keep an eye out for the trailer for the United Lens, because I'm going to need all of you sharing it on your socials, on your YouTube, whatever. Just hit share. We'll get the people in. We ain't hitting 500 by starting next season if we don't get this stuff shared out. So I need your help. I appreciate everything you do give, and I will see you then. All right, guys. So Tuesday night, 10 o'clock, back here. Tomorrow night, 9 o'clock, Tactical Devils, if you want to come watch me over there on Jarvis's Corner. But until then, I'll see you Tuesday. Take care.